Yo, what's going on guys? Jared here. Today I have another deck profile for you, and this is going to be a Sky Striker deck profile, one of my favorite decks that I've ever played, and I haven't touched it in a long time because it hasn't been the most competitively viable, but because we don't have any events coming up that I need to prepare for or anything like that, I am now being able to go back and look at decks that I haven't had the time to really do because I was so focused on the competitive end of it. Now, I'm going to start off by saying here that do I think Sky Striker is like the most competitive deck right now? No, this is if you really enjoy Sky Striker, this is something that if you want to take the locals and have fun and enjoy playing Sky Striker again, I think this is the right deck for you. But for like winning a YCS right now, I do not think that this Sky Striker is the deck for that. It is definitely not the most competitively viable. So that'll be my little disclaimer. I love Sky Striker. I'm a huge fan of Sky Striker. Do I think Sky Striker is like the deck right now? No, I don't think this is some like secret sleeper pick. I think that there is a dedicated Sky Striker fan base that will always, in every format, will look back in this deck and see if there's a niche where it's hitting the mark at a certain point with the way the format is. And right now, it's just not it. But I'm going to talk about that more in the actual profile. So if you enjoyed this conversation, enjoyed deck profiles, please subscribe. I would greatly appreciate it. And yeah, let's just jump right into it. Okay, guys, so here is my current Sky Striker list. I have this divvied up pretty well, I think, for explanation purposes. I have the 20 Sky Striker engine main cards at the top, and then I have the non-engine on the bottom here. I have this split up between 2020 because I don't think you, like, the Sky Striker engine right now will win a game by itself. You need to be able to have that non-engine with you to be able to push through boards and break them, especially right now because I think that the board breakers are definitely more strong than the hand traps right now. So as you can see, this is a going second board breaker type of deck strategy that I have. And because I'm doing that, this also helps with consistency, right? Things like Triple Tactics Talent and Triple Tactics Thrust being live going second also could help you get to your engage or draw to, respectively. So going into the profile, we have 3 copies of Ray, 1 Rose. I cut down Rose from 2 before to 1 now because we have linkage. I don't think I've ever made a profile with linkage yet. This is my first time because I didn't even pick this to back up when linkage came out. But this is definitely one of the best Sky Striker support cards I think we've ever gotten. So yeah, this is also like a pseudo starter, but the fact that it's a quick play spell, and being able to send away other cards you have, including other spell cards, to be able to summon a Sky Striker from the extra is so good. So this is like a pseudo starter in a sense. 2 copies of Engage here. I have 2 different artworks. I actually am one of the people who like both artworks of this card. So I think anyone knows that Sky Striker plays to Engage. So I'm just like it, just a little me thing. 1 Hornet Drone still, and the 2 Area Zeros. So these are all of the pseudo starters in the deck here. I have 13. Again, I'm saying pseudo starters. Linkage by itself isn't really a starter, but it's definitely pretty close. Area Zero also isn't a starter really, but it's, again, pretty close. You can excavate into a starter. So they're like consistency cards, right? But moving on for the engine of the deck, I have 2 copies of Shark Cannon. All right, so like this is where I kind of want to start talking about like format stuff, right? Because you have to, like, the Sky Striker cards based on format are better depending on what we're in, right? So obviously in something like Tier Limit format, Shark Cannon is really, really strong. And Tier is still in the in the meta, but it's not like this dominating force that you're going to play like 6 times in a YCS or a tournament, right? You might play against like 1 or 2 in an event. So right now, and again, like other than that, I don't think it's that great currently, at least. Like this card is nothing against Pearly, which is unfortunate. So it's just like a dead kind of card against that. And then Rescue Ace, same thing. There might be some niche situations where this is going to come up. But like overall, the card's not amazing. You could probably even cut this down to 1 right now. Unchained, it's pretty solid against because you can banish the 1 of Shavara, which is good. So like it's really like format dependent. So if you take this to like your local, I want you to like think about what people at your locals are playing, and then if this is applicable against the decks that are there. Because this card is so hit or miss. I just have 2 online right now because Dueling Book is literally like anything. It's a free for all. So I'm just like playing it like the safest route of like, sometimes it's there, sometimes it's not. 3 copies of Widowmaker. This card is so good going second, helping break boards and negating all the important cards your opponent controls. Things like the DDD are a huge, huge problem. for the Unchained deck specifically. You could also chain this on top of something like a Noir if they ended up using the effect. That's also really, really important. And I will say Pearly is one of the weakest matchups for this deck because Noir is very hard to out. You could mitigate that by playing something like Herald of the Abyss in the main deck, but I am not doing that right now because I'm not going to, in such a diverse format, I'm not going to play one card that is strictly for one matchup. It's just not worth it to me. That's just my opinion. So yeah. But yeah, Widow Anchor, obviously Snatch Deal, Quick Play, Negate, like super good. One multi-roll still because you just don't need this card at 3. It's not that good. You're not engaging and needing to dodge Ash Blossoms enough. You're like more or less trying to break the board and then play around it. So this is more of a utility card than like a card that used to carry you with Engage and get a million card advantage. And then the one of Afterburners. I'm not playing what's the other one? I can't remember the name right now. The Spellware Trap Popper, Jamming Waves. I'm not playing Jamming Waves right now. I just don't think it's great right now. But Afterburners is still a solid card. Again, it's just something that helps out boards, baits out interactions and negates things. Being able to, I think Seizure's like the biggest thing for like going second, but also some of the Rescue Ace boards. If you can get 3 spells, threatening some of the back row could be really important. So. And threatening a SP Little Knights was also very good. Just a lot of good like versatility with the Sky Striker cards and how you can break boards with them in tandem with other non-engine, I should say. Moving on, the Talents package, the triple tactics package in itself. Again, these cards are already insane, and then you put them on top of a deck that wants to go second, so they're like always going to be alive. Always, I'll say most of the time they're going to be alive. And then on top of that, being able to thrust for Engage is obviously just absurd. And I'm not playing any pot cards to like restrict you in any way, like desires to be able to hit like accidentally banish like Engages or Prosperity so that you can't draw. I really don't want to do that. I would much rather have the versatility open for everything rather than try to add like a little extra consistency when you're having the 6 card. Like if you don't need more consistency on top of having the 6 card going second draw, I feel like it's just not the right deck at that point because you're like putting way too much into consistency rather than like being able to play your deck freely, if that makes sense. So yeah, like obviously these cards are just crazy. 1 Mind Control, 2 Lightning Storm, Change of Heart, and Harpies. These are like the board-breaking thrust targets. You could play evenly in here, but I really like the battle phase because Hayate is super important. So like you could play one evenly in here if you want to, but I don't think it's necessary. I would much rather have a battle phase in this deck, and this is coming from the Runic guy who really never used battle phases anyway. So I really don't want to play evenly matched, and I think all these cards are fine. You pretty much have answers to most boards, if not all boards. You can also play other board-breaking cards in here. Things like Super Poly, I think, are really good right now. So, I mean, keep that in mind. You don't like this isn't like the end-all, be-all. I just think that these cards are like generically in such a wide, diverse format, the best at what they do, if that makes sense. There's so many cards and so many decks that you have to worry about and play around. So when you get into a format like that, you want to play the most generic type of cards to break through that. And I just think that these happen to be, they can meet that mark, if that makes sense. And then for other board-breaking cards that are also better into other certain matchups is Book of Moon, Forbidden Droplet, and Imperm. So the reason that these are all in here, honestly, is you just need to draw one of these against Centurion, and then you are usually able to stop from getting Calamity'd. That would be like the biggest thing. Same thing with Widow Anchor, that also applies here. You just be able to Widow Anchor the Crimson Dragon in draw phase, and then you just can't get Calamity. As long as though the Widow Anchor or the Imperm or the Droplet or Book, like, they don't get negated, you just won't get Calamity. So, like, this deck is a very fun matchup going into the Centurion deck, as long as you're not going, like, Baron plus Calamity or the Negate plus the, what's it called? The Calamity line. But usually they don't. It's not like a crazy board that they're usually setting up. And then even if they do, you really just need 2 of them, and it's the same thing. There's no difference. So yeah, like these are all here to not get Calamity locked, because once you're Calamity locked, you can't play at all. All your normal spells like don't do anything. But if you are not Calamity locked, you have full access to gas to break the Centurion board. Because realistically, the Centurion board isn't anything insane. It's just Calamity, and then usually it's Calamity, pass back, and then you just they just OTK you. But like the board itself isn't that crazy. It's kind of like Pearly in a sense, right? Like the Pearly board is just Noir, but realistically, it's like a rank 2 plus trap. But if you stop the trap, all you have to worry about is hand traps. So things like Book of Moon were really effective in that format because of that. So it's kind of similar in that sense, in my opinion, as of now, early Centurion. So yeah, that's like that. But these are also like great cards against things like, I'm going to keep saying the DDD because I think that card's absurd, and the scariest, like one of the more prominent decks of Unchained. So I think that like all these cards are good against that. Being able to use like the Mind Control and the Change of Heart on things like the Soul Rage are also really good. Being able to link off anything you take for something like SP Little Knight is super solid. So I think these cards are really versatile. And against Pearly, you really need to draw Book of Moon. Your Book of Moon, your Imperms are the two big ones that try to stop them from getting into that Noir. That's like a big thing. So hopefully you can do that. That's the goal of this deck. Like I said, that's one of the worst matchups, but it's, you know, what you kind of have to deal with. So, yeah, that's that's it for the main deck and the explanations. I think just for, again, I know I've said this probably like 3 times already, but a big, wide format requires your deck to play, 1, consistently, and 2, generically good against into everything. So you might not have that, like, that D barrier for Synchro versus Sword Soul, but maybe you'll have, like, the Veiler for Unchained, or for Moye, that's, like, decent into other matchups at the same time, right? Like, it's not the end-all be-all, but it might hinder them enough to where you can like push through, which is I think important. So it's something to keep in, like general Yu-Gi-Oh tip pretty much. So yeah, like moving on to the extra deck now, I'm gonna go over the not Sky Striker stuff first, which is Zeus and Typhon. Both of these cards are exceptional, and then especially Zeus with things like Widow Anchor and Change of Heart being able to take. Super easy. Typhon, excellent card for breaking boards. It's also good to move things like into the extra monster zone, so you can take like any monster and put it up so that you can clear your extra monster zone, which is also really helpful. Or you can clear your main monster zones, I mean, which is helpful. And then like this card's just like such a surprise factor for a lot of decks and can really make a big difference when you back it up with, you know, Imperm, Droplet, Book, Widow Anchor, Shark Cannon. Like you still have like interactions pretty much is what I'm trying to say. Access code Unicorn SP. These are all just like, obviously access code is crazy in this deck with all the different attributes you get. So I'm not even going to explain that really. Plus you can take Lick monsters with your cards and then go up into it. Unicorn, I just wanted like a generic removal that can beat a lot. Like something that's just very generic. That's all I wanted. Especially one that's a Link 3 that can crank up the access code to 53 if I need to. Yeah, that's all it really is. SP Little Knight, I think, is just an insane card. Any one of your Sky Strikers turn into a Link, which then can turn on SP Little Knight to banish for going second as well. So something to keep in mind, and threatening a board is very important. And now going into the Sky Striker stuff, 2 Hayate, you don't need 3 of this really. You shouldn't need 3 of this. Like it can come up, but hopefully it doesn't. It comes up maybe like 1 in like 100 games, I feel like. So 2 Hayate should be fine, especially again, you're drawing 6 cards, so you're seeing more in your deck, so it should be okay. Obviously 3 Kagari, the best one by far. Kaina is just a utility card to be able to slow down your opponent. Then 3 copies of Shizuku, because this is the other most important one where you can just guarantee see engine over the course of the game. And we're not playing the Pot of Avarice type Sky Striker equip card, so you don't have like recyclability like you would in like maybe like a more pure version or going first version like you used to. So I really don't want to run out of these 2. Those are the most important 2. And then 1 copy of Zeke. Zeke is super strong in this deck, being able to send Area 0, boost up, and clear any monster you take with Change of Heart, Mind Control, etc., etc. So this is like really important to remember. Yeah, so that's it for the deck. I hope I explained that well, because right now I just don't think going first Sky Striker is the way. It's just not strong enough. Things like Widow Anchor are not strong. Like, as you know, like just seeing the decks play, you can, like, a lot of decks can play through like 1 to 2 interruptions like with ease, and I feel like that's Sky Striker does that. It's like 1 to 2, and then they set up into like a crazy next turn, but like I feel like a lot of decks are going to be able to push through that, and then just you're not going to have a next turn anyway, right? Feels like old Rescue Ace maybe in a way, like kind of something like that, similar, where you're going for like this big push in the second turn, not the first turn. So overall, I hope that makes sense. I hope you guys understand of where I think Sky Striker is right now. And I really do like the deck right now, especially with linkage. Again, this is my first time playing with it. And yeah, it's really very fun. So I hope you guys enjoyed the profile, enjoyed the explanations. And again, please subscribe if you did. And I will see you in the next video. Bye, guys.